Hello children, welcome back to online class. I am AKKAMAHADEVI, your science teacher from Upper Public School, Kalaburagi. So children, today I am here with the same chapter, that is separation of substances. Okay, so let us recall few topics which we have discussed in the previous class. Okay, so in the previous class what we have discussed? Yes children, we have discussed about separation. What is separation? Okay, so what do you mean by separation? Yes, it is the process to separate harmful or non-useful substances from, yes, from useful substances. Okay, so what do you mean by separation here? It is the process to separate harmful or non-useful substances from useful substances. Okay, so this is the process of separation. So now let us see few examples. Okay, so here tea leaves are separated from tea. So here separation process takes place. So here what we are separating? We are separating tea leaves from tea. So now children, which is useful component and which is non-useful component here? Yes, tea leaves and tea, which is useful, which we drink. Yes, we drink tea or we eat tea leaves, which is useful. Exactly. So here useful component is tea, which we drink, and tea leaves are non-useful component, which we throw. Okay. And next, what we have discussed? Yes, grains are separated from stalks. Okay, so here grains are separated from stalks. So here also again separation takes place. Okay, so we are separating grains from stalks. So now here which is useful and which is non-useful component? Yes children? So grains are useful or stalks are useful. Yes? Exactly. Grains are useful because from these grains we get wheat flour, isn't it? And what about stalks? They are non-useful. We feed for animals, okay? But these stalks are not useful for us, okay? Then cotton seeds are separated from cotton fiber, isn't it? So here seeds are also separated from cotton fiber. So again seeds and here fiber. So in this example these two components are useful. Even cotton fiber is also used and even seeds are also used. So like this one more example is there. Can you guess which is that? Yes children? Exactly. butter is obtained from buttermilk. Okay, so here butter is extracted from milk. Here also again separation takes place. Here we are separating again butter from milk. So now here again these two components are useful or not useful? Yes, here both the components are useful because butter also we use and even buttermilk also we will use, isn't it? So this is all about separation which we have discussed in the previous class. Okay, so now why do we separate substances? So we come to know like by separating all these we get these things. But now why? Why do we separate? Let us see. Even activity also we have explained, like we have discussed in the previous class. So just today once we'll go through it. So why do we separate substances? Okay. Why do we separate so this question rises in your mind, isn't it? Why do we separate substances? Okay, so the first thing, to separate harmful substances. Okay, so the first thing is like to separate harmful substances from a mixture. Okay, so why do we separate here? The first thing is like to separate harmful substances from a mixture. Okay, example. Separating stones, isn't it, from grains or pulses. Okay, so the first thing is like why do we separate substances? The first thing is that to separate harmful substances we need to separate substances. Okay, so now where do we find these harmful substances in a mixture? Yes, we may find in grains and pulses. We may find small stones or even sometimes dust particles we find in grains or pulses which are harmful, isn't it? Stones are harmful to our body, isn't it? We should separate them. So here the first step is like to separate harmful substances from a mixture. So this is the reason like why do we need separation, and the example for that is separating stones from grains or pulses. Okay, next is to separate non-useful substances from a mixture. Okay, so the second one is to separate non-useful substances from a mixture, and the example for this is yes, separating tea leaves from liquid, that is tea. Okay, so here the second purpose of separating the substances is to separate non-useful substances from a mixture. And the example for that is, we are separating here tea leaves from liquid, that is tea. So here what we are separating? We are separating tea leaves from tea. Okay. And next one. Even sometimes we separate two substances to get two useful components. Okay. So sometimes we also separate if we want to use both the components separately. Okay. If we want to use those components separately, we can separate the substances. And the example for this is, separating butter from buttermilk. Isn't it? So here these three are the important points, like why do we need to separate substances? Why do we separate substances? So first reason is that we separate the substances because to separate harmful substances from a mixture. So first thing is like to separate harmful substances from a mixture. And now you all might be thinking that what the harmful substances will be there in the mixture, isn't it? So for that, here is the example, that is separating stones from grains or pulses. So here what we are separating? We are separating stones from grains or pulses which are present in them. Okay. So the first reason is that to separate harmful substances from a mixture. Okay. And the second reason is to separate non-useful substances from a mixture. Sometimes we separate to separate the non-useful components. For example, here separating tea leaves from liquid, that is tea. We won't drink tea with the tea leaves, isn't it? We strain tea leaves. We separate tea leaves from tea, isn't it? So here we are separating non-useful component from useful component. I agree, or even we all agree, that tea leaves are important to prepare tea. But after preparing tea, there is no use of this tea leaves, isn't it? After preparing tea, we should separate tea leaves from tea, isn't it? So the purpose to separate non-useful substances from a mixture is that we are separating here non-useful substance from a mixture. So first reason is harmful substances. Second one is non-useful substances. And the third reason is sometimes we separate the substances if we want to use them separately. For example, here we are separating butter by churning. Churning means stirring continuously. Okay. So here by churning of milk, we are separating butter from buttermilk. Now you all might be thinking that is it necessary to separate? Obviously, because we need butter, isn't it? So for that, butter is separated from buttermilk. But here both the components are useful to us because butter also we will use, and even buttermilk also we will use. Okay, so this is about why do we separate substances. Okay, so this is like why do we separate substances. So now let us discuss few methods of separation. Okay, so we come to know like why do we separate substances, isn't it? So now let us see like which are the methods which are there to separate the substances. Okay, can we follow the same method to separate all the substances? No, there are few methods which we should follow to separate the substances. Okay, so let us see which are those. there are, as I said, like few methods are there to separate the substances, like hand picking, threshing, winnowing, sieving, sedimentation, decantation, filtration, evaporation, and condensation. Okay, so let me write here. Methods of separation. Okay, so which are those? First one is hand picking. Second one is threshing. Third one is winnowing. Next, fourth one is sieving. Next, sedimentation. Next is decantation. Next one is filtration. Next is evaporation. Next, last one is condensation. Okay, so let me repeat once again. So there are few methods of separation. Okay, which are those? They are hand picking, threshing, winnowing, sieving, sedimentation, decantation, filtration, evaporation, condensation. Okay, so these are the few methods where we use to separate the substances. Okay, so now let us discuss one by one in detail. Okay. So first one is hand picking. Okay, so now let me ask you, like you all know, your parents will bring ration every month, isn't it? They'll bring packet of rice, dal, some grains, pulses. Okay, so like for the month, what we need, we'll bring at a time. Okay, so for that we call ration, isn't it? So when your parents bring ration, so what purpose they'll bring? Obviously to cook, isn't it? So now tell me children, like what are the things which we bring from market, whether we use those grains or pulses directly to cook? Yes, directly we can use those grains or pulses to cook. Yes. Yes, the answer is no. We cannot use those grains or pulses directly to cook because some impurities may be present in those grains or pulses. Okay, so now you all might be thinking that what are the impurities which are present in the grains and pulses, isn't it? Let me tell you, like small stones. Okay, dust particles, small insects, some other grains. So these are all might be present in the packet of the grains or pulses which you brought from market. Okay. So now we will take example of rice. Okay. So we'll take a packet of rice. So in that rice, these are all will be present. Like small stones will be present in the raw rice. Dust particles will be present in that rice. Even sometimes small insects will also be present in the rice, and even sometimes other grains or pulses may also be added in the rice. So just we are talking about a packet of rice. I'm not talking about 1 or 2 kg which you bring from mall. I'm talking about like 25 kg. Okay, we will bring from market at a time. No, so I'm talking about that packet. Okay, so in that packet, these are all impurities may be present. Like small stones may be present in that packet of rice. Dust particles may also be present. Even sometimes small insects may also present, and even sometimes some other grains may also added in that packet of rice. Okay, so these are all present in the packet of rice. So now tell me, like in the presence of all these, will you cook food directly? Yes. Will you cook? No. So what do we do for that? Yes. Ask your parents that what do they do? Yes, children? Exactly what they will do. They will remove these impurities. Okay. So now question arises that how? Isn't it? So how they remove all these impurities? Even you might have seen. Yes, children? Guess how they remove? By using their hands, isn't it? So by using our hands, we will pick the small stones or dust particles or small insects and even some other grains which are present in that packet of rice. We will remove those impurities by using our hand. Okay. So now here, so here pulses or rice have impurities such as, just now I said, such as stones, dirt or dust particles. Okay, so dirt or dust particles, small, even sometimes small insects and other grains. Okay, so pulses or rice have impurities such as stones, dirt particles, small insects and other grains. Okay, so now what do we do? As I said, if the pulses or rice have all these impurities, what we will do? Yes, children? Remove those stones, dirt particles, small insects or other grains. Okay. So when the dirt particles or the stones or the small insects are present in the pulses or rice, what do? We remove those stones or dirt particles or small insects or other grains. How do we remove? Yes, children, how do we remove? By using our hands, that is hand picking. Pick means taking out. By using our hands, we will pick those impurities from the grains or pulses. Okay, so before I continue, let me tell you today's code, children. So today's attendance code is 114477. Okay, today's attendance code is 114477. Note it down in your book. Okay, once again I'll repeat, children. Today's attendance code is 11114477. Okay. So coming back to hand picking. So as I said, like there will be many impurities which are present in the grains or pulses which we bring from market. Okay, so those grains or pulses we use for cooking. But before cooking, what we will do? We will remove those impurities which are present in those grains or pulses. Okay, so how do we remove? Yes, by hand picking. Okay, so hand picking means removing those impurities by using our hand. Okay, so this is about hand picking. Hand picking means, once again I'll repeat, children, the impurities which are present in the pulses or rice can be removed by using our hands. Okay, so now children, now my question is whether this hand picking is useful to separate all the substances? Yes, whether this hand picking is useful to separate all the substances. Let me tell you. For example, salt and sugar. Okay. If I give you a mixture of salt and sugar, and if I tell you to pick salt or to pick sugar by using hand picking method. So now tell me, like, whether this hand picking is suitable for this method to separate salt and sugar. Yes, children? Can we separate salt and sugar by hand picking? Yes, think, can we separate? No, because here salt is also a very small particle and even sugar is also very small particle, isn't it? So we cannot see here. I am talking only about hand picking method. Okay, so here I am talking only about hand picking method. Okay, we cannot separate salt and sugar by this method. Which method? Hand picking method. Okay, because they are very small in particles, so they are very small, so that we cannot separate them. Okay, so now question arises that how, like, there are few methods, like there are few reasons, like where can we do this hand picking? Yes, let me tell you. So just now we discussed, like, we cannot separate salt and sugar by hand picking. Okay, so now when hand picking can be used, then if we cannot separate those two small particles, then is there any solution for that? Like when hand picking can be used? Exactly, there is solution. Okay, size of impurities is large Okay. Quantity of impure substances is less. Okay. So here, when hand picking can be used, if the size of impurities or impure substances okay, if the size of impure substances is large, okay, if the size of impure substances is large, then only we can choose this hand picking method. And one more is, if the quantity of impure substances is less, then only we can use this hand picking. For example, you take, like, if the size of impurities is small and if the quantity of impure substance is less, okay, then can we use? Yes? No. So when the hand picking can be used when the size of impure substances is large and when the quantity of impure substances is less. Only in these two cases hand picking can be done. Okay. So this is for all today's class, children. So in the next class, again we will revise this hand picking and next we will move forward and we will discuss the remaining methods of separation. Okay. So children, read textbook. If you find any difficulties, so you can contact me. Okay. Hope you all understood this today's concept. Thank you. Have a nice day.